It is 5:30. This is the regular meeting of the Calexico City Council, Calexico Redevelopment Successor Agency, Calexico Financing Authority, regular meeting agenda. It is 5:30, and we are calling this meeting to order. Ms. Garcia, if you could proceed with the roll call.
Mayor Ureña,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Romo.
Present.
Councilmember Garcia is going to be late today. He called in. Councilmember Manzanares.
Here.
Councilmember Moreno.
Here.
We have a quorum, sir.
Okay. Is there any request for public comments, Madam Secretary? No request for public comments. At this point, we will adjourn to closed session.
Point of order, hold on.
Yes.
I sent an email with myself and I to Esperanza Colio, an attorney, to put an item as an emergency item and a personal matter. Was that resolved?
Are there any requests for an additional closed session item?
Yes.
We do need a vote on that, right?
We would need, we would need to add it, but
And I believe you were told, you were aware.
Yes.
Okay.
I was told. Sir.
The what?
So we don't need to add an item. Okay, so we can discuss. It falls under an existing item.
It falls under what point item?
The personnel.
Oh,
matter
I see, okay, the same code.
will.
Okay,
Yes.
got it.
Okay. At this point, we will adjourn to closed session at 5:32.
Okay.
It is 6:37. We are commencing the open session of the Calexico City Council, Calexico Redevelopment Successor Agency, Calexico Financing Authority, open session meeting. Ms. Garcia, roll call.
Mayor Ureña,
Here, present.
Mayor Pro Tem Romo,
Present.
Councilmember Garcia,
Here.
Councilmember Manzanares,
Here.
Councilmember Moreno.
Present.
We have a quorum, sir.
We have quorum. If we could rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, Ms. Romo, if you could lead us. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mr. Garcia, mission statement.
City of Calexico mission statement. Together, we pledge to provide effective and efficient services in a courteous and respectful manner to improve the quality of life for all in our unique border community. Viva Calexico.
Mr. Moreno, invocation.
Thank you. Please remain standing for the invocation, if you will, you're able to. Heavenly Father, tonight we are asking for your blessings for those who have been called to lead our community. Help us, leaders, how to fix things, what we need to know, what we need to learn, how we might need others to change. But most important, listen to people in this community. Remind us that no matter who we are, we treat everyone with respect, our children, the elderly, the poor, the homeless, the hungry. Amen.
Amen. Any closed session announcements?
we have no reportable actions from closed session. Thank you.
No reportable actions. Moving on to the approval of the agenda, we do have requests to table items 10, 11, and 18. Are there any motions on the floor?
So moved, Mayor.
So moved. Two, just to be clear on your motion, so moved.
So moved to accept the agenda with those
I
items.
accept the, yes, okay.
Yes.
To approve, the motion is to approve the agenda, tabling items 10, 11, and 18. There is a second by Ms. Romo. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 5-0. Moving on to announcements. These proceedings may be viewed on the City Calexico website at www.calexico.ca.gov the Friday following the City Council meeting. Community office hours with Mayor Ureña will be held by appointment. Please contact the City Clerk's office at 760-768-2102 to schedule an appointment. Las horas comunitarias con la alcaldesa Ureña siguen en pie por medio de cita, por favor contacte a la secretaria general del municipio, Gabriela García, al número 760-768-2102 para agendar una cita. Moving on to public comments and public appearances, not to exceed 3 minutes. This is the time for the public to address the City Council on any item not appearing on the agenda that is within the subject matter jurisdiction of the City Council. The mayor will recognize you, and when you come to the microphone, please state your name and place of residence for the record. While members of the public are encouraged to participate, it is unlawful to disturb or delay City Council meetings with personal or slanderous remarks. The City Council is prohibited by state law from taking action or discussing items that are not on the printed agenda. If the item you wish to comment on is on the public portion of the agenda, we will take your comment when we get to that item on the agenda. Please direct your questions and comments to the City Council. We do have 2 requests for communication. The first one is by Mr. Javier Lopez. Mr. Lopez, if you can make one available for the public, or just put mine over there. Over there. So there's a copy of that backup document Mr. Lopez is providing.
I'm going to read the introduction from what I wrote. Good evening, Mayor Raul Ureña, members of the City Council, Honorable City Council, Esperanza Colio Warren, City Manager, and members of our community that are present. I come here because, as you all know, I was here not long ago complaining about used car sales in front of my house. This has been going on for about 2 years, and I was told, I don't know why I'm out of breath, excited. I was told by the code enforcer, the supervisor, that the Sydney ordinance did not include my street, but after I did some research, I found out that is not true. Because, as you can see in this document that I'm showing you, there is a city ordinance, the 5.92, prohibiting soliciting upon public property. It is unlawful for any person engaged in any business to solicit or conduct such business on the streets, sidewalks, or rights of ways of the city unless otherwise explicitly permitted by or other provisions of this code in the case of sidewalk sales by the resolution or City Council. There's another one where there is an off-site sales, but for dealers. And obviously, the persons in front of my house and on the adjoining streets are not dealerships. They're there, they're selling their cars, and they come and they knock on my door, ask for prices, etc., you know. And the problem is that these ordinances are not enforced. I have called the police department. They tell me to go to code enforcement. And the supervisor told me just that it's not in my street, which is not true. So what I'm asking you is to please check this out, have maybe the city attorney look at it, and order somebody to please cite these people or tow the car away or do something. They don't have permits, they don't have a license. I don't know what to say. This has been going on for 2 years already. So that's all I have to say.
Thank you,
Mr. Lopez, real quick question. I think we talked about this a year ago.
Yes, we did.
And it was brought up to City Council. I know Ms. Scully was not here. I know Mr. Garcia was here. I know I was here. Ms. Scully was, Roma was here. I believe Mr. Ureña was also here. And my understanding was that, I believe the issue was that cars can be parked, I guess, but not within 100 feet or something like that from an intersection. And this case affects you directly because you're right there in the corner. I know where you live. But aside from that, I think also was the consensus that because these people were not had a license and they're making money, not paying taxes, all a bunch of ratifications on it. Yeah. But I think we did talk about that, and I did bring it up to Ms. Colio, and she was going to look into that.
Yes.
It's unfortunate that this is still happening.
Yes.
And when I do drive around town, I see those cars all over the place, specifically on that area where you live.
Yes.
Not only that, because it becomes a traffic obscurement, people can't see it, especially during the mornings.
Yeah.
It's a traffic hazard of anything.
It is a problem, especially when they go up and knock on my door.
Mr. Lopez, we cannot extend discussion at this moment, but it's been noted.
Thank you.
Righty.
Thank you.
Mr. Lopez. Mr. Sergeant Sundal. Mr. Sundal, Sean? This microphone over here might be a little bit better.
Hi, good evening, Council. My name is Sean Sundal. I've been with the department for 20 years. I'm here because we learned that our POA was offered 0% wage increase. Just a little bit about my life. I'm in a family of 6, and I have a very difficult time paying the bills with the salary I have right now. It's very difficult. Our POA got a 30% pay cut about 5 years ago, and we're barely to where we need to, and we're offered 0%. I believe that's more of an insult. Every negotiation that I've seen, the excuse is always we have no money. Every single time, the council's never said that we have a lot of money, you can get what you want. It's not the police department's fault that the city doesn't have the money. It's not my fault. I'm the patrol officer. My job is to patrol the streets of Calexico, not make sure that the budget is balanced. In every city budget, it doesn't matter what city, most of the funds go to the police department and the fire department. It doesn't matter where you go. I do have a suggestion. I know that there's a chief position opening up. That's about $160,000 a year. If we just keep it the way it is with Chief Serrano, and he's actually doing a pretty good job the way it is, we can get $5,500 per employee, which would equate to a 6% wage increase. Why do we deserve a wage increase? Well, if you look at the 2022 stats for the law enforcement officers killed in line of duty statistics, there's a 100% increase in ambushes on police officers, and 118 have been killed, and that's 2022. For me, I feel not as safe as before patrolling the streets. It's usually me and a partner. I just feel a lot more unsafe than before. We're rolling very minimal staffing right now. Just to show you what we do, we respond to the port of entry. Every day, 13,600 vehicles pass through, which is 4.9 million a year. And every year there's 449,000 that pass through the port. The port has their own police department, yet they call us for everything. They call us for warrants, missing persons, crimes that didn't even happen in Calexico. I don't know what that has to do with Calexico, but we're constantly over there dealing with other counties. The law enforcement standard is for every 1,000 population in a city, you're supposed to have 1 officer, but we only have like 0.48 officers. So if you would please allow us to concentrate on being police officers, being dispatchers, rather than having to ask for a raise every single time. Greatly appreciate it.
Mr. Felix, Rene?
Muy buenas tardes. René Félix, de la oficina del asambleísta Eduardo García. Esta tarde es un gusto saludarlos a todos. Y bueno, el propósito de mi visita el día de hoy es darles una actualización de la propuesta de ley AB 918, que trata de lo siguiente. AB 918 tiene como fundamento un distrito de atención médica en el Valle Imperial y está acompañada de varios proyectos de ley que consideramos que es un acompañamiento muy conveniente para AB 918. Les iré adelantando un poco de cada uno de los proyectos. En primer lugar, compartir de AB 918, que ha logrado un progreso significativo en el proceso legislativo. Ha pasado con éxito el primero y segundo comité, el comité local de gobierno con 7 votos a favor y el segundo comité de apropiaciones, eso fue el día de hoy, con 16 votos a favor. No ha habido un solo voto en contra en las votaciones que han existido. Actualmente el proyecto de ley está programado para ser escuchado en la Asamblea General antes de pasar al Senado. Es importante tener en cuenta que la medida AB 918 continúa a través del proceso legislativo. El proyecto de ley sufrirá enmiendas para perfeccionar y fortalecer aún más sus disposiciones. Tras su aprobación, el proyecto de ley creará un distrito de atención médica unificando todo el condado. Implica transferir los bienes, derechos y responsabilidades de Pioneers y Heffernan. El nuevo distrito de salud, además AB 918, exige el establecimiento de una junta interna de 7 miembros que represente a varias partes interesadas bajo la dirección del LABCO. Esta junta trabajará para establecer zonas de votación para elegir a los miembros de la junta directiva. El proyecto de ley también faculta a la junta interina a negociar la transferencia de activos de la ciudad del centro, específicamente el Centro Médico Regional. El nuevo distrito de atención médica, además, AB 918, exige que la Junta determine una fuente de financiamiento permanente, sujeta a la aprobación de los votantes a través de una medida electoral. A medida que nos involucramos activamente con las partes interesadas y los funcionarios electos locales en el Condado de Imperial, anticipamos que se realizarán más enmiendas a AB 918 para garantizar su eficacia para abordar las necesidades de atención médica de la comunidad. Es esencial enfatizar el enfoque integral de la legislatura para abordar los desafíos de atención médica en todo California. El asambleísta Eduardo García ha estado involucrado activamente en abordar los desafíos de la atención médica a través de varios proyectos de ley. La propuesta SB 112, que establece el programa de préstamos para hospitales en dificultades, proporcionando préstamos de flujo de efectivo sin intereses a hospitales públicos y sin fines de lucro en dificultades financieras. AB 1131 crea el Fondo Revolvente para Hospitales para ofrecer subvenciones y préstamos de bajo costo a hospitales en comunidades rurales y desatendidas. AB 412 también establece el programa de préstamos para hospitales en dificultades, proporcionando préstamos de bajo flujo de efectivo sin intereses a hospitales en dificultades financieras. Por último, AB 869 extiende la fecha límite para que los hospitales cumplan con los estándares de seguridad sísmica y brinda alivio financiero para el cumplimiento. Estos esfuerzos legislativos destacan la participación del Estado en abordar sistemáticamente los problemas de atención médica y garantizar un reembolso adecuado para los hospitales. Se ha solicitado un paquete de ayuda único de 1.500 millones para ayudar a los hospitales de California a brindar atención a las comunidades vulnerables. El paquete se desembolsa proporcionalmente en función de la utilización de medical y se enfoca en hospitales que atienden a una mayor cantidad de pacientes de medical. Este paquete de ayuda es parte de una solución integral para abordar la falta de financiamiento estructural en el sistema medical y establece el sistema de salud del Estado a largo plazo. Vale la pena señalar que el gobernador Newsom ya firmó esta propuesta AB 112. Por último, estamos a sus órdenes. Es un proceso que se está llevando a cabo. Tienen en su espacio la información correspondiente y al público estamos abiertos. Seguirán las conversaciones con el asambleísta. Definitivamente les mencionaba que no es nada más AB 918. Las otras iniciativas de ley, que son 6, acompañan a esta propuesta para enriquecer la cuestión de salud pública en el estado de California. Gracias por su atención. Estamos a sus órdenes. La oficina del asambleísta Eduardo García.
Gracias por su autorización. Sigue el señor Morris Riser.
More in Calexico. I came here basically to speak to Manzanares. He keeps attacking us. You singled us out because we gave you the recall papers. There's 45 signatures there, and you go after us, me and Rosie. Why? Why do you keep going after? The buck stops now. Stop it. You leave us alone. You're nothing but a peon, a little kid. You know what the city council's job is? Is to do policy, make policy. You guys are not administrators. You come over here and you do administrating job. You go to the office and do your thing there. You have a city manager there. That's her job. Why do you guys go there? Like why do you keep going to the office and checking out people what they're doing? That's not your job. Your job, take care of 3 people: the manager, the city attorney, and the city clerk, and that's it. You're not supposed to go. You también, Gloria. You're like a puppet. You títaro.
Please address the
You
city
do whatever
council.
he wants.
Please address the city council,
What's
Mr.
that?
Raisin. Please address us as a whole.
Pardon me?
Please address us as a whole, as a city council.
I am addressing city council. I'm singling out you guys one by one.
On the agenda, it says you can't do that. You have to speak to all of us as one unit.
I'm
Please.
putting names.
Thank you.
You know, that's a good tactic you're doing, Raul. Just keep doing it. Anyway, it's not right what you guys are doing. Just do your policy, do your thing, but you have to do it, and just leave us alone. Let them do their work. That's why you have a city manager there, okay? And you, I'm going to single him out because he keeps going after me.
Please direct
And
your
Rosie, you
comments.
leave Rosie alone.
Please direct your
She's
comments. Please direct your comments at the city council.
One of your councilmen there better leave Rosie alone.
Thank you. That's
Better leave
appropriate.
Rosie alone. You know, I have a personal deal against you. I'm going to go after you. I have it. That's all.
Thank you, Mr. Raisin. Ms. Daniela Murillo.
Hi, hello. Good evening, Council. My name is Daniela Murillo, and I come here as a Calexico resident and as a former city employee. I want to ask, what is your goal when it comes to public safety? Because, please stop. As a former 911 dispatcher, parking enforcement officer, and a police explorer, I want to say how terrible my city has been managed. Each one of you made me quit and continue my career somewhere else because of your lack of leadership and your lack of support. From being unable to have mental stability, financial stability due to each one of you. This city gave me an opportunity since I was 15 years old. And you stole that from me, to be a police officer for this city, my city. I'm here to raise awareness that your first responders needs you, and your community also needs you. Your dispatchers need to stop making the same salary as in-and-out employees. Your first responders need you to wake up and do what you were chosen to do, to make the right choices for my city. It appears you guys are intentionally mismanaging public safety, and I hope this is not the case. We need change. Change for the better. Thank you.
Mr. Gonzalez.
Good evening, Council.
Good evening.
This past Monday, May 15th, was Police Officer Memorial Day. I want to start off by saying a few words to honor one of our own, Officer Adrian Cordova. Adrian Cordova was killed in the line of duty on November 1st, 2007, in a tragic on-duty traffic collision. At the Calexico Police Department, there's a memorial wall with his picture that commemorates his life of service as a Calexico High School graduate, a USMC Devil Dog, and a Calexico police officer. Officer Cordova served the Calexico Police Department for 2 years. He had previously served as a correctional officer with the Imperial County Sheriff's Office and a U.S. Marine on the war on terrorism overseas. Officer Cordova is survived by his wife, daughter, stepson, parents, and his sister. Adrian has been gone for many years. He is dearly missed and will not be forgotten. This week is also National Police Week. We want to thank the community for their support, for the show of support to us this week, and for all their kind words. The Imperial County Board of Supervisors invited our officers, along with other local law enforcement agencies, to a special meeting to commemorate May 15th. The El Centro City Council had their city council meeting yesterday and took a few minutes with their officers to commemorate May 15th as well. Other cities and organizations are doing the same. But this council has chosen not to do any type of commemoration and to make us wonder if they really support us. The CPOA is currently in negotiations with the city, and our current contract will expire on June 30th. In that contract, the CPOA agreed to a 7-year pay reduction, in which we are still currently on. We also agreed to other concessions for the purpose of helping the city in their time of financial need. The CPOA has made significant monetary and salary sacrifices to help this city, especially by the city's decision to freeze and or delete police officer and administrative positions. In the past month, we have had several meetings with the city manager, finance director, and HR director, and other council members for the purpose of negotiating a new contract that will benefit not only the CPOA, but the city and the community. During the negotiations, the CPOA has learned a lot of false information or miscommunication or lack of are broken down of the communication between the city hall and the city council members. We implore the city to do the right thing, and if we find out the city or any of its members are negotiating in bad faith, the CPOA will call them out. If the members of this governing body truly support us, show us. Actions speak louder than words. Don't just say you support us. Show us how you support us. Mr. Garcia, thank you again for always being supportive and keeping a regular communication with us. And we hope to come to an agreement soon. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Anthony Herrera.
Good evening, Council.
Good evening.
So I just want to start off by saying that I'm not here representing anyone. I'm here as a citizen of Calexico. My whole family's here. My whole family lives here. And I see your vision. I see the vision you want for the city. It's the vision I want for my babies growing up. But the problem is that, as of now, I'm scared to walk my baby to the park. God forbid they need emergency services. You know, the quality of life starts with emergency services for all our people here. And as of now, the only thing I can think of is taking my babies out of Calexico. So, thank you for your time.
Miss Marisela Garcia. Sorry, I should say Profesora Marisela. She's still wearing the same CST pass your test shirt from 2008, huh? Adelante.
Good afternoon. To tell you the truth, I was asleep and they called me about this, so I came and I started reading the information. Council, I'm here because I read about the Remington project, that they want you to go ahead and provide a loan for them for 300, what was it, Akira? I read somewhere in here, $350,000 or something, and then give them a 3% interest. Where would you get that interest? Anywhere? My concern is the following. When we asked for them to do the geothermal check, they canceled and they said that is all they're going to offer. They didn't want to provide the safety for our city. In the last meeting that we came, I believe you were all here in the development committee or here, and they said they would not come, that this is the final offer and that's all they would offer for Calexico. That tells you how much they really care. Now, but because of inflation, they want you to go ahead and provide this soft loan. I don't know what it means. But to tell you the truth, if it benefits us, Calexico, and because it says that we might forfeit $3.18 million in IIG funds. I don't know what that is. But if it's something that hurts us, well, we might move on it. But if it's not, hold them accountable for those things that the citizens requested, the geothermal check, the other areas that we asked for, so that they now can say, you know what, we will provide that service. Because at that point in time, they didn't care. Because they said no. They didn't come and talk. They just sent an email, or was it Zoom? I don't remember what it was. And they said, no, we will not do it. So I'm here to ask you to really look into whether we have the funding to provide this, or should we be providing this funding elsewhere. If it affects us in some way that we lose money and it hurts us, then do what we must. But if not, spend the money elsewhere where it's much needed. I hear what is happening, and maybe that's where we can spend money. I don't know. You're the experts. You have people that are experts. But I just think that this company, now they're saying, oh, now I need your help. But when we asked, the citizens of Calexico were not important because people had asked for that. And thank you so much. And that's all I know.
Ms. Garcia,
Monday.
just to get clarity, so the item was moved to June 7th. So June 7th is when that decision is going to be made by this council. It was tabled. But if in the meantime you could provide documentation on the things that this company failed to provide, things that were requested, if you could provide documentation or just write it out for us, that would be helpful.
I think it would be in the minutes of that meeting that we last had.
The commission meeting?
Yes, I don't. Okay. It's an meeting that we had. We mentioned well, it was several things that were mentioned at that meeting.
Okay, sounds
okay.
Good. We'll look into it.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you. Ms. Supervisor Escobar.
Thank you.
Oh, Gabi. Okay, put it back there. There'll be a copy of Mr. Escobar's document at the front.
Te la debo.
Council members, Mayor, council members, Esperanza, Carlitos, long time no see, Gaby, Gaby. First of all, just before we start with the updates, Happy Mother's Day, Esperanza, Gloria, to all the city staff, and muchas felicidades. Espero que se la hayan pasado súper bien con sus familias el 10 de mayo and with your families, second Sunday, which is last Sunday. I just passed out a flyer, English and Spanish on both sides, that is a $100,000 grant program that I was happy to see that the CEO's office, Miguel Figueroa, as well as our supervisors, approved about a month ago. And this is really to assist businesses along the Highway 98 corridor that have been adversely affected for years, literally. Besides the border closing, COVID-19, and now Caltrans, it has been a nightmare for those businesses. So they approved a $100,000 grant program, $10,000 per business. The fund, the Applications will be open until the funds are exhausted. Once the businesses, the primary businesses are hit, then we open up additional layers, let's say, so that additional businesses can apply on a first-come, first-served basis. But again, priority is to the businesses that have been affected for the longest time, which is the one we're hitting now. We have 4 out of 5 applications at this point. We're hoping to hit every one of them before we open them up to additional applicants. SBDC, we had a great presentation yesterday. Camilo, thank you for attending. SBDC stands for Small Business Development Center. It is partially funded by the U.S. Small Business Administration. The county became the host for the local SBDC as of last year. Very proud. A lot of hard work went into adopting SBDC into the county. I look forward to bringing that presentation to the city of Calexico in the very near term. A lot of good has been done from a free consulting basis. A lot of man hours have been extended to a lot of businesses, in Calexico included. A lot of grant programs have been established, and individuals have succeeded in these grant programs nationwide to be able to bring money into our Imperial County. So again, I look forward to working with Esperanza and the mayor in getting that presentation here. Another important presentation that everybody's interested in is obviously Public Works and where our road and our road infrastructure stands. So I look to bring John Gay, who runs our Public Works Department, in the near future at a mutually convenient time so he can make a presentation on the 3-year plan. Again, every year there is an update on the 3-year plan so that we know what roads around the city of Calexico will be rehabilitated. And we know there's a lot of need for that, roads and bridges. Lastly, and I know I don't want to take too much of your time, Title 42. Title 42 is a very controversial topic, but I am very proud to say that the city and the county have worked hand in hand. Esperanza and Miguel Figueroa, who you all know, have worked hand in hand along with CBP, city, county, CBP, in really working through this issue on a consistent and humanitarian way that does not adversely affect the majority of Calexico businesses or put us at any safety risk. So again, we have to treat the humanitarian as well as the safety of our individual businesses as well as our individual selves of our community, and I think we're doing an excellent job. Social services, the sheriff's office, fire department, public health. I'm not sure who in the city, but I know it's spearheaded by Esperanza, but it's a tag team effort. The county lent the command center, which is off of, I was going to say Cordova Park, Friendship Park. So again, great collaboration. I'm glad to see that, and I hope that it continues. With that, I end my updates, and if I can answer any questions, happy to do so.
Unfortunately, we're unable to take questions at this time, but it could be proposed that we have an item that says government officials report, so we can have a back and forth discussion.
I leave it open-ended. That's completely up to you. I'm happy to answer any questions at a future date.
We appreciate your presence, también del asambleísta Garcia. We absolutely love when higher levels of governments, the state, the county, come to give us very detailed and contextual reports on what's going on at higher levels of government.
Thank you. Permiso.
Moving on to the consent agenda. Or sorry, no, city manager's report.
I just want to mention that going back to Title 42, we have an increase of the individuals crossing the border. Very brief. We have good news. 2 ambulances arrived last Friday, so they are operating today. You can hear them going back and forth every place. So now we have 3 ambulances available.
I didn't hear that. Can you say that a little bit louder?
3 ambulances available now. The ones that were purchased with funding from ARPA,
Okay.
they arrived last Friday. And so now we have the 3 of them operating, 2 mostly used and the other one is like a backup.
Okay.
So we're doing okay. I don't want to go into much details about the report, so we're going to have some items.
Okay.
Thank you.
Sounds great. Moving on to commissioner reports. Any commissioners present that would like to present? Anybody else from public comments that I didn't call that did turn in a slip, just going once, going twice? No? Okay. Commissioners reports. Any commissioners present wishing to make a presentation? Okay, seeing none, we will move on to city council comments and reports of meeting attended. We'll start with Vice Mayor Romo, if you have any
No comment
reports.
for number.
No reports by Ms. Romo. Mr. Garcia?
First of all, I want to start by, it is true, in spite of all of our challenges, I would like to recognize that police officers, as a way to celebrate and honor their work and the labor that they do around our community. Again, we understand that, there's some situations, but nonetheless, I appreciate the work that they do, the way that you do what you do for our citizens and for keeping our community safe. It's truly appreciated, and even though you probably didn't get a proclamation or a mention, I want to acknowledge your work and your continued dedication to our community. Thank you. And then on another note, another activity that I attended, it was the SCA conference, in Palm Desert. It was a very, very, good gathering of leadership, from the southern state of our, southern part of our state. And every time you go to those conferences, you always find, or at least I always find something that gives me energy, gives me a reason to continue to serve. And I think having great examples and mentors that you can look up to, and I had a chance to listen to some of the encouraging words by Ms. Dolores Huerta, a great advocate for farm workers and people who have devoted their lives to serving other individuals. So I had a chance to listen to her, and not just that, but also network with other elected officials, kind of like learn from some of those things that they have gone through, lessons learned. I think it's a great opportunity as elected officials to go and really see how other people do and deal with their own situations. I think, there's a great opportunity to learn and not just keep ourselves in our own silos here. I think we need to go out and really need to look at other ways that things are being done in their communities. So that was my report. Thank you. Well, that is my report. Thank you.
Okay. Moving on to Mr. Moreno. Do you have any report?
Just a couple of things, real brief. I'd like to thank Golio for addressing that with the Imperial County Transportation Committee, the downtown business that was burned. It was finally boarded up. That was one of the concerns because some of the business owners were concerned about that place can't catch on fire. Nobody had cleaned that up, so it was finally cleaned up. I know it took a while. There was, like I told the business owners, there's a process. So thank you for that, to taking care of that. I also had the opportunity to go drive by that border park, the Frenchman Park, where the county set up the operations in conjunction with your office as well. And in anticipation for the migrant, the lifting of Title 42. So those are my comments, Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Moreno. Mr. Manzanares.
I just want to thank the County of Imperial for being proactive and working side by side with the City of Calexico regarding the lifting of Title 42. As we know, recently, as soon as it was lifted, we had a humanitarian crisis that took place about an hour and a half from here in the desert of Jacumba, where approximately 1,500 people were stranded in the desert, including people de la tercera edad, women and children, people of all ages were stranded in the desert, exposed to anything that comes with that. There was a great outpour of support from humanitarian groups. I know I want to acknowledge some of the organizations local from the Imperial Valley, including Brownback Coalition, Imperial Valley Equity and Justice Coalition. If I'm forgetting someone else, I'm so sorry. But as of right now, it seems like the situation is a little better, at least in the humanitarian side in Jacumba Desert. And despite us not having to see these dramatic increases of asylum seekers in Calexico, we're hoping that we don't. But I am happy to see that the County Imperial and the City of Calexico are being proactive on this issue. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you, Mr. Manzanares. I do have a report under City Council comments and reports. Discúlpenme, me voy a extender poquito just to make sure that it gets translated back and forth, but I'll try to run through it as quickly as possible. And there are some directives within for upcoming dates, or fastly upcoming dates. The first one, la primera actualización o petición is we really need to have a budget workshop or a town hall with the mayor. I was informed that the library closes at 6:45, or that's when employees are leaving. Tenemos que tener una junta comunitaria de presupuesto en la biblioteca. Ocupo fechas de cuando la biblioteca está disponible para agendarla lo más rápido posible y empezar a actualizar a la comunidad. Con este fin, quería peticionar que se pusiera en la agenda debajo del IT, de ARPA, of the allocation of IT services for the City Council in ARPA. We really need a camera that allows us to express, kind of like an overhead projector that films into YouTube so that we can explain budgets in a way that we're displaying the budget, showing the budget, and verbally communicating and explaining to the community. And that will serve us for when we rehabilitate City Council. We'll be able to use that tool to project things and speak on them from the dais. Councilperson Manzanares and myself met with the United Farm Workers a couple days ago. We have been meeting with them as an effort to identify their needs, really with the ultimate objective to uplift downtown safety and cleanliness, not just for them, but for the whole community. Concejal Manzanares y yo misma hemos estado con la Unión Campesina de Estados Unidos, viendo las necesidades de los campesinos que cruzan la frontera a tempranas horas, en un esfuerzo para promover la seguridad y la limpieza del downtown, atendiendo las necesidades de estos campesinos. To that end, I believe that there has to be 2 ad hoc committees created by the mayor for next agendas for the next city council meeting. One for farm worker infrastructure and policy downtown, and another one for park rejuvenation. Pienso que debe haber 2 comisiones adjuntas o ejecutivas por el alcalde. Una con el tema de campesinos, la infraestructura para los campesinos, y el otro en la rehabilitación de parques con fondos temporales. The Mexican consulate has approached us with heat concerns in their building. There is a scheduled meeting on May 23rd to see how we can remedy those in a way that it has the least fiscal impact on the city of Calexico. Consulado Mexicano nos ha dejado saber que hay una gran necesidad por el riesgo de deshidratación o acaloramiento en la provisión de servicios del consulado en su inmueble, aquí a unas cuadras. Vamos a tener una junta a los ejecutivos de esta ciudad con el cónsul el 23 de mayo para ver cómo podemos resolver ese problema con el mínimo impacto fiscal a este municipio. For June 7th, there are a couple items I would like to request at this time. Presentation from CCRT, Behavioral Health, they would like to present. Salud Mental del Condado Imperial quiere promover su programa CCRT. Se viene el mes de Pride. Pride Month is coming next month, so we do need a declaration and we do need to have a flag raising on June 1st. Como viene el mes LGBT, tenemos que tener una proclamación para junio y una especie de celebración de levantamiento de bandera para ese mes. To that note, happy International Day against transphobia and homophobia, against discrimination for the LGBT community. Feliz Día Internacional de Erradicar la Transfobia y Homofobia, hoy, mayo 17. There was a presentation that was requested by Heffernan Memorial. They have agreed on June 7th to present on the hospital debate and the urgent care center. Había una petición del concejal Moreno que Heffernan presentara sobre varios temas de salud y ellos accedieron a que el 7 de junio ellos pueden presentar sobre el tema del hospital, el debate del hospital y el estado del centro de urgencias aquí en la Cuarta y Mary. También para junio También para junio, más adelante de junio 7, hay dos materias. La primera es la carretera 98, como no va a estar a tiempo para la junta de la ICTC de este mes, definitivamente esa conversación de los fondos para los controladores de tráfico se va a extender para la junta de junio y de ahí no va a pasar. Since Highway 98 is not complete by this month's ICTC meeting, the conversation on the traffic control funding will be moved to the June meeting, and that is when we will make the final determination on what will happen to the City of Calexico with those traffic control funds. We will work with the farm workers group. Hopefully by June 21st, we can have some kind of ideas of what a resolution would look like for the winter, specifically for these farm workers. And other than that, I had the privilege to sit in at the Heffernan meeting where Assemblyman Garcia was presenting his ideas for AB 918. And I also welcome Garcia's office to please come back for the meetings of June 7th and June 21st, where council will shortly be making the decision of what legislation or what hospital pathway we will be supporting. Tuve el privilegio de sentarme con Heffernan en su junta especial donde presentó el asambleísta García sus propuestas bajo AB 918. Invito a la oficina de García continuar presentándose el mes de junio, el 7 de junio para la presentación de Heffernan y probablemente el 21 para cuando vayamos a agendar qué medidas de hospital vamos a endorsar como municipio. And lastly, of course, the good news, 2 new ambulances came to Fire Station number 1, and Fire Station number 2 is semi-operational or mostly operational and under permanent repair. 2 nuevas ambulancias, unidades han llegado a la estación de bomberos número 1 y la estación de bomberos número 2, gracias a Dios, está parcialmente operativa y bajo completa renovación de permanencia en el lado oeste de este municipio. Eso concluye mi reporte, and thank you for following along to that report. Moving on to the consent agenda. All matters listed under the consent calendar are to be considered routine by the City Council, Calexico Redevelopment Agency, successor agency, or Calexico Financing Authority, and will be enacted by one motion in the form listed. Any item may be removed from the consent calendar and considered separately by the City Council. Are there any motions on the consent agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve unless there's somebody wants to move some items.
Okay. There's a motion.
Nobody?
I just want to clarify, there is a typo on one of the items that is submitted. Is that okay? We can.
We were informed by the city attorney that any clerical errors in any of the letters can be fixed with approval.
Okay, perfect. So I'll send you the revised versions.
There is a motion to approve the consent agenda. There is a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes unanimously. Items pulled for discussion and potential action. We will be starting with a resolution of the City of Calexico City Council authorizing city manager or designee to submit a $10 million grant application, accept grant award, execute grant agreement, and or any documentation pertaining to the State of California Building Forward Library Facilities Improvement Program Round 2 for Camarena Memorial Library Upgrade and Expansion Project. Sounds exciting for the library. Ms. Legaspi, pleasure to have you here.
Thank you. Good evening, honorable council members, city staff, and the community. I'm Lisa Legaspi, library manager for Camarena Memorial Library. And then also we're going to have Ms. Lily Falomir, public works manager, joining me in this brief presentation. Okay, so we have brought before you a resolution to allow us, and more specifically city manager Ms. Colio, apply for a California State Library grant under the Building Forward Library Facilities Improvement Program. So the California State Library is offering the opportunity to all libraries, whether city, counties, or special library districts, with funding opportunities to improve their buildings and their amenities to meet the 21st century needs of their residents. priority is given to cities with high poverty areas, which we are one of them. We are trying to apply for 100% match reduction, which we may qualify for it, so we're hoping that we have a big chance of securing this grant. There's $175 million available under this second phase of second cycle of this grant. Any library that gets an award can request up to $10 million, and the application deadline is tomorrow by noon. So now Ms. Falomir is going to tell you a little bit more about the application process.
Good evening, Mayor and Council members. As Ms. Legaspi mentioned, the California State Library issued a call out for projects back in March, and immediately we met to discuss several improvements that need to be done at the library. What we are calling this grant application that we are proposing is the Camarena Library Upgrade and Expansion Project. The scope of work that we are requesting is, of course, to do some exterior improvements, which is some painting, some stucco, and also some signage. And we are also would like to do some interior improvement, which is interior paint. There's some windows that need to be upgraded. There's several doors that are not ADA compliant, so we want to bring them in. We also have a lot of flooring. There's some spaces where the flooring is missing, and Ms. Legaspi and her staff have put some mats, but we want to make sure that nobody trips. We're also requesting to install energy efficient lighting as well as AC units. We're also requesting some security system for staff and resident security, as well as for fire security. We're also requesting to upgrade certain plumbing and electricity throughout the library. And also, this application gives an opportunity for us to add additional square footage to the library. And one of the major needs of Calexico's library is additional room in the children's area as well as in the teen area. Also, Ms. Legaspi is requesting a storage room. Right now, if you go to the library, you see a big old container outside. So we want to get an extra area for her storage. Also, part of the scope of work is we're requesting the 10% administration cost to help us out, whether it's administering the grant as well as hiring an architect and engineer. The estimated cost that we've been working is for the complete $10 million. Right here, you can see exterior pictures of the library. It was built back in '96, so it's 27 years old. These are the columns that we would like to restucco and paint, make it more attractive and beautify the library. One of the requirements that we wanted was the parking lot, but unfortunately that's an ineligible cost, and so it won't be covered in the grant. Right here you can see some of the windows that we need to upgrade, and of course, as I mentioned, we're also requesting to paint the interior. It has had, some of the interior has had some water damage due to the storms that we are having, so we want to fix that. And right here, you can see we are in need of replacing the obsolete drinking fountain, as well as there's a restroom at the children's area that we need to upgrade. We were able, with ARPA, to reconstruct the public restrooms, but there is the children's area restroom as well as the staff restrooms that need to be upgraded. And as you see right there, there's a portion of the carpet missing, so we would like to replace the flooring as well. If you have any questions, we're here too.
Yes, I have many. Sorry, can I, Mayor? Thank you. Let's go to Ms. Legaspi. I've always said that when I was here the first time, I was, and Miguel was around, Mr. David also, I think that library always needed a lot of improvement. It was really pathetic to go over there and you know, you can't even walk to the parking lot. So kudos for putting this together. I think it's a long coming. So why are we asking for 10 million, not for 50 million? That's my question.
Because that's the top the maximum that we can request.
So you're going to go for the full amount. Okay. Is this the same one that when Ms. Linda applied for, or it's a different one?
It's the same one.
So what happened to the original one? Did it fall through the cracks, or what happened?
When the application was submitted, there were some dates and information that was submitted
Okay.
that we had to correct.
Okay.
And the state told us that it would be better for us to retrieve the application and to resubmit an application the following year.
Okay.
Because what they do like pre-screening of the projects. And so if you fail to say year 1950 versus 1930, then it's 20 years gap. So that will be putting us at the lowest in the lower rank. So it will be better for us just to go with another application. That's what we did.
Okay, thank you. That answers it. The other thing, also, I know you did some work with the asbestos. I think it was in the bathrooms, right? There was some issues with the health there because there was some mold or something.
Yes, there was an issue with the restaurants. They have a leaking for a while, and when it was time to repair it, we found that it was mold underneath. So what we did, we shut down the building immediately because the air conditioning carries the mold if it's present and it's open. And so because they opened the tile, then it becomes in the air. So we shut it down the building. The restaurants has been replaced. They're ADA compliance now, totally new, and you approved the notice of completion last city council.
And I saw the presentation, 175 million appropriated by the state, right, for the libraries, and we're going to get 10 million. Is this a competitor grant? It is, so you have to compete.
It is,
okay.
yes.
And where are we in terms of the hierarchy? We're rural area. We consider is that a good opportunity?
So what we're gonna do is gonna submit the most accurate information carefully and address the issues and how this library receives so many people, because I don't want to say anything about the city of El Centro, but this was the best library. It is. And now they have a fancy library, but we still have a lot of services, and I want to commend Ms. Legaspi because she really makes it work.
Right.
There are so many people coming to the library every day, and we want to continue providing that type of service. So we want to increase the capacity to provide those services, change the carpets, change the roof and everything, so that we continue providing services and maybe invite more people.
Okay. And does this just include the upgrades? Can you add buildings, like rooms to it? Can you add additions? Can you do a lot of things to it?
Yes, we can do that. Part of the project, as presented by Ms. Falomir and Ms. Legaspi, includes the resurfacing of the parking lot. As you can see, it's not very good.
Right.
The roof, we're patching the roof for one of the leaking that happened during the past storm. But in this case, we're going to do for a better layout on the other side, because there are different areas where we have leaking area. And we're also going to try to see if we can expand the facility.
Yes, that's part of
That
the
is
mayor
part of
part.
the scope of work that they presented.
And also to be in compliance with the, well, not compliance, but to be with the governor's orders with the renewable energy that's really, it's in the state of California, and they have mentioned the place. Can we add solar to that?
For example, the windows will be one way to do it as energy efficient windows. If you saw one of the photos, there's windows over there, so we can replace those with a better energy efficient windows.
Well, thank you very much for you and your staff, Ms. Legaspi. I think you waited long enough, and congratulations. Hope you get that. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. That's all I have.
Thank you, everybody. Before we proceed to any kind of vote, I did receive a public comment for the record from Mr. Garcia. Unfortunately, it is under the regular public comment period, and it has passed. There is no way for me to go back to public comments unless I'm otherwise told I can go back to public comments. Mr. Campos, is there a way to go back, or is it not admissible and it should be for the next meeting?
If the public comment period did end, if you wanted to give the opportunity to speak, you can, but generally the public comment period has already ended.
Yes, okay. I will allow this comment, but please try to maintain them for when the public comment period begins and when it ends at the beginning of the meeting. But you're allowed to come up. Mr. Garcia?
Churito, you're up. Come on. You want me to take a microphone? You need a microphone, Churito? You okay? You sure? Okay. All right. Yeah, give it to him. There you go.
Oh,
We will.
you didn't vote for the application.
Yes.
Okay,
we're
I'll
just
make a
gonna
move.
take this comment
Yes,
quickly,
and then you
then
vote.
we'll
Okay, thanks.
proceed to vote on this. Don't worry.
Yeah.
Hello, my name is Jesse Garcia, resident of Calexico. I think I heard Maria Regina say something about getting a flag for, my hearing isn't that good, so I just heard the word flag. That's good. But you know what? There's a flag that we need that's 100 times more important. That's the American flag. We don't have them. Back then, many people who has Facebook, I posted a picture of the city of Calexico in the 20s, putting up the flags, American flags in the holidays and then downtown. Since the 1920s it's been done. Now, for probably 5 years or more, it hasn't. Not a single flag to honor our military veterans, on the 4th of July memorial veterans, nothing. And I told the council a few years back, we need to get those flags. We need to show our respects for our veterans. Yes, I know all those flags we used to put, because I used to work for Public Works, I used to do that. Every year, little by little, they're been stolen. Now we have a handful of flags. They should be put, at least those. You know, we used to put them 1st Street, 2nd Street, and from the Salida all the way to Highway 98, both north and south bound. We used to show our respects back then. It hasn't happened no more. I heard El Centro does it, Hopeville. Everybody except Calexico. Just like the Christmas parade, everybody except Calexico has them. We need to get back to those things to show our respect for the veterans. My father's one of them. And the Christmas parade also. Also, another thing is that I know Station 2 has been closed for some time. I went there the other day. I went to the south side where it's getting in. I couldn't believe what I saw. The grass, tall grass, dry, weeds, dry next to a house, right next to a house. It's a fire department and it's a fire hazard. I mean, we don't want that fire department to burn down the way it's been happening in brush fires. I mean, it's terrible, in terrible shape. Even though there's nobody using it, it should be maintained. The front grass, it looks like it's been trimmed, but it's very dry. Also, a fire hazard right there. We need those places to be maintained again, even though there's nobody there. I believe that's it. So thank you very much for your time and for giving me a chance to speak.
Thank you, Mr. Garcia. Coming back to item number 12, any motions?
I'll make a motion to approve.
There's a motion by Mr. Moreno. There's a second by Ms. Romo. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes unanimously. Moving on to item number 13, Ms. Falomir, authorize city manager to sign agreement of professional services in the amount of $30,000 for the Viejas Band of Community. I'm not going to call them Indians, natives that we have, as a cultural resources monitor for the New River project. Yes.
Yes, so the city applied for the permit through the Army Corps of Engineering, and one of the requirements was that, which was requirement number 9, that we get in contact with the Kumai Viejas for them to come and assist us with the cultural. So before you, we contacted them, they requested $30,000, which is the funding will come from the New River State Grant, and we're here before you to request the approval.
So, unless anybody else has a comment on this, I pulled this one aside from consent just to ask one brief question. And the brief question is this one. So I'm no arbiter about whose land this is, but I know that there is local Quechan as well within Imperial County. So my question is, and without delaying the project, because the last thing we want to do is delay the project, but this is kind of an important detail. Is there any way that we can get somebody that's a little bit more local than the Viejas band? Because Kumiai is applicable to our region, but within their bands, we chose the one that was furthest away. Like between us and the Viejas band, there's the Manzanita band that's near that golden acorn, right? They're a little bit closer. I don't think there's any existing bands of Kumeyaay in Imperial County, but we do have Quechon in Imperial County. How feasible is it to go and ask?
We didn't, the city didn't choose it. It was told by the Army Corps
of Engineers
of Engineering to do an agreement with them. What happened is when we submitted the application, they sent it to several organizations and they sent it over to Kumeyaay. So then they provided and said, yes, we can provide these services. So as part of the application, as part of the approval that we got, it was specified that we needed to contact them.
Okay. And so when it was decided, various organizations, the Army Corps of Engineers decided that, did they consider the Quechon or did they not consider?
I don't know. I would need to talk to them, but that's, if you see the permit, item number 9 specifically says that we need to have a contract with them.
With the Kumeyaay, specifically with the Kumeyaay?
Yes.
One thing that I want to comment on that is that the process has been done, and delaying this approval will delay the project
A
2
little
months.
bit, yeah. It sounds like it was predetermined by a higher authority, which is the Army Corps, and I just want to make sure that there's nothing that we could do about it. So that makes sense, and with that, I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
A second by Mr. Garcia. All of those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes unanimously. Ms. Gerardo on the discussion action regarding recommendations from Art and Historical Commission on the Utility Arts Project. We have a couple of designs that were provided.
Good evening, Mayor and Council.
Good evening.
As you may recall, back in February, you guys approved guidelines on applications and also deadlines for the utility box project. We received four art submittals. Out of those, 2 were out of town. They were not residents of Calexico. So they were automatically disqualified as per our guidelines. So only 2 made it actually to be checked by the selection panel. The selection panel is composed of 2 Arts Commission, back then the Arts and Historical Commission members, and 2 hold on, sorry. Calexico needs changed members, I'm sorry. They met and they discussed the 2 proposals, and they recommended to the Arts and Historical Commission 4 things. They selected the art proposal Centinela, art project number 1. They recommended to run a second utility box project with an open theme. They also recommended to open this project cycle to adults residing in the whole Imperial Valley and not only Calexico residents, and to allow those who were disqualified this round to be able to make it into the second round with those art submittals. Then on April 11th, the Arts and Historical Commission met and discussed the recommendations by the selection panel. After discussing, they're making you the following recommendation. To select the art proposal, El Centinela, by Melina Trejo, to run a utility box project with a theme, Viva Calexico, to open this project cycle to adults who have ties to Calexico, so not Calexico or Imperial Valley residents, but anyone who lives anywhere and has ties with Calexico. And to allow disqualified art submittals to participate in project cycle number 2.
Sounds good. Starting one by one with the selection. Does that conclude?
Yes, that will be it.
Thank you, Ms. Gerardo. Starting with number 1, select art proposal El Centinela. If there's any initial feelings or discussion on the selection between these 2.
So these are the I know Ismail, he's Ismail, right? Ismail? I know Ismail, and I know you, before you got up here also, he was also part of this initial project way back when. These are 2 out of all the people that applied, right, that were chosen?
There were 4 art proposals submitted, and only 2 made it because they were not residents.
And then initially, didn't we have, how many boxes did we have that we're going to do?
There's 9 projects to be done.
But there's only 2 that chosen?
Correct. So we would need
9?
we would need an additional cycle. Yes.
Okay. All right.
I just want to clarify because I
Yeah.
got direction for that. But you went and offered the 9 boxes, right?
Correct.
Yes. Yes. Because
So
that
there was
the
an offer, but
direction.
only 2, actually 4 actually applied, and 2 of those only qualified
Yes.
based on the parameters. Okay, well, okay, yeah, that's all I have, thank you.
Anybody else have a comment on the selection of art?
I want to clarify something because of the comments that were made regarding citizens in Calexico or extended to the Imperial County. This city council requested that the opportunity will be given to City of Calexico residents, and that's what we narrowed that, the scope of work. Just want to clarify that.
And
Thank you.
We remember. Thank you. Mr. Manzanares?
My only issue is the theme. Although of course it's like a Viva Calexico theme, the one thing I dislike about themes is that I had a meeting actually not too long ago with artists from the Imperial Valley, and we talked about this project lightly, surface level, and the one thing that they brought up was like very talented artists. They're like, no theme submission because we're restricting them in their artistic themes, right? We're like, when we say themes, I think last one was like love and hope, I don't know, okay. And now it's like another theme, and my concern is that we already tried setting a theme and some artists didn't feel like submitting their proposals. I would love to just have no theme. Of course, we'll know what is appropriate and not appropriate. We'll use common sense because it's going to be a public display. Just for example, the City of El Centro has some of these boxes with beautiful, colorful patterns, right? Desert landscapes, whatnot. There's even like a children's drawing that's beautiful next to Belgreen Park, and I feel like that sort of diversity is not allowed under strict guidelines of like, no, it has to be Viva Calexico and related to it. That's my only issue. I would really love to give liberty for artists to express themselves and let them create, and then I'm sure they'll bring beautiful pieces back to council or to the committees for consideration. I think that's my only really concern, really.
Well, it's about art. Art, it's a way that each artist express themselves based on their life training, and I agree with that. Perhaps maybe that's the reason why we only got so little.
Would you like to make that a formal motion that Cycle 2 be ran without a theme?
Well, the also, well...
on item number B, because it sounds like you're talking on B.
And I wouldn't really feel comfortable like selecting this art, although it's beautiful. I'd like for the entire set of like artist submissions to be considered at the same time.
Oh, okay.
Right. That's my only.
So you're saying we should postpone selection? Would you say that we should allow these to just be automatically in that new cycle?
Oh yeah, of course. Like they'll move to cycle 2. I mean, it is beautiful. I love it. But I'm just saying, I think we should just give the chance for everyone to be considered at the same time.
Okay.
Will that be a different motion? Because on the agenda is to vote on these. That's a motion. I mean, that's the right, Mr. Attorney. Perhaps maybe vote on them, include them, and then.
There's a recommendation, so it'd be council would be could adjust that recommendation depending on.
Because it would be disingenuous. We just. I don't want to sound argumentative, but I mean, approve them and then have 6 more available for they can experience everything and want at least get this thing done out of the way. I don't know. That's.
I do like, and no, this is just my comment. I do like that approach because at least these 2 are here.
Yeah.
We can approve them and then just run a really good cycle 2.
Yeah, and the other ones, as long as they're not obscene, they're not blah blah, they can express however they feel, and he can also contact. Because I understand, an artist should express what they feel as long as they're not obscene, right?
And we yes, and I agree. And one of the things that I wanted to say, and my comment was more directed at number 8, but before I make my comment, Mr. Garcia, do you have anything to say? Any
Yeah, you
comments?
know what? I do like the idea, but maybe just open it up to the creativity of artists. Of course, within certain parameters that you don't have no things you cannot display. But I think it just should be open. Because we always go. I know we have our background, our heritage is it's ag. It's always a centinela, Mount Signal. And I love that. And that's in a lot of our symbols that we use. But we're also I think we should be thinking about other things too. And I'm not an artist, but many people who are artists can come up with those ideas. I like the idea of just like El Centro. First I was kind of like, when I looked at their boxes, I'm like, well, what's that? But as I have gone by many times, I kind of like find a logic to that. So let's not be limited to a specific theme or just the same thing also. I understand we're very proud of our, symbols, but I think we need to be thinking more open also. So even just probably open this up to everybody. And my question also, if we approve those, are those going to be, how many of those are going to be reproduced to put in how many boxes? And then on the second round, how many or which areas are we going to go and display that art?
So if you approve, just to make this clear, because you're mentioning opening the theme and just have an open theme, be aware that the actual selection panel, that was the initial recommendation to the Arts and Historical Commission. They wanted an open theme, but then the Arts Commission was the one who said, well, we want a theme. Just for you to know that the selection panel, that's the route they wanted to take.
And I can understand why they're limiting, they're afraid of the kind of team
Art,
they're gonna bring.
yeah, theme, right.
But I think this, the council also will have a say in determining which ones are appropriate to be planted.
Right.
So I don't think we should be limited.
So, Mayor, I make a motion to approve these and then open for the other ones, open it, and then just allow those other 6 or 5 remaining boxes they can do. And they did their work. I mean.
Are we approving this one as well?
Huh?
Are we approving this one as well?
Yeah, that's a motion.
Both of them, wasn't it? Because both are for, you only one consider, we're going to vote on one?
Is
We have 2 recommendations, we got to vote on one. Okay.
We're only being recommended to approve this one.
I would like to, and this is just my opinion, I would really like to approve both.
Yeah, that's
Los
what I'm
dos
saying.
están bien bonitos.
There's no. Are you coming?
Yeah, comment?
If I could make a comment, I would like to, because that was part of the committee.
Oh, sure. Slip for the record.
There is no. I just want to make sure, like, no repercussion or of any kind if we allow religious symbols.
Which one?
Like if we allow religious symbols.
Well, yeah, I mean, you'd have to just allow almost any, you'd have to be consistent with what you allow. So if you're allowing something, then you'd have something similar, you just have to allow it as well, generally.
If we allow spiritual expressions, it has to be non-discriminatory.
Yeah,
right.
So if you're gonna, you
yeah.
can't say this, and then
Yeah,
you can't
if it
pick
was
and choose.
another
If you're gonna
religion, we
if you're
can't
gonna
say
open
no,
up to
it
that,
doesn't
you have to open it up to other similar.
There would be a
and not,
Muslim
and
submission,
discriminate what you
we would
want.
have to.
Yeah, that's why because like what if they don't want to move forward like a one that's based on Islam and we approve this one already, kind of gives off as we're being discriminatory.
I trust this council to not discriminate against art submissions. I think we should be.
I mean, it is beautiful. Don't get me wrong. I'm just a little. Oh, it's a religious symbol. I'm not sure.
Well, as long as we don't discriminate, if other religions submit other spiritual expressions, we're good.
Also, aquí hay dos. So, are we allowing one artist to have 2 submissions?
It's the sites. So it's one box, and
Yeah,
it's
the
telling you
site,
what
Oh, it's
one
like-
side will
Yeah.
show and what the
Perfect.
other
Okay.
side will show.
Oh, beautiful. Nice.
Okay, so just rolling
You
back.
guys might
Oh,
with
sorry.
this public comments.
And I'm sorry, I didn't answer Mr. Garcia's question, Councilman Garcia's. That will be, if one is approved, one box. If the 2 are approved, then that's 2 boxes, 7 boxes, or 8 boxes left.
Mr. Rizzo. Thank you, Ms. Gerardo.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Yes,
So
sir.
yeah, I was part of the first council, first committee that was deciding what we thought about these. Personally, I come from a Catholic background. Everyone in my family is Catholic. Yo voy a misa todos los domingos. But I didn't feel comfortable putting that out there. Number one, for its level of you could call completion, because it looks like it's colored pencils. In my personal opinion, during the meeting, I remember, maybe Dylan, you remember, like, I was like, if they would put maybe 5 more hours into this, like, con Sharpie, con marker, algo más, algo que se mire stand out más, maybe I would have a better decision on it. También, discriminating against any other religion, like, if we allow La Virgencita, we should allow, quote unquote, anyone that believes in any other religion, it being one that you believe in, disapprove, like, or dislike, you know. I'm not going to be looking at what religion I want to see more out there. Yo sí dije, si hacemos approve ese, que esté por la Olga, you know, around an area, can be nearby a church, but there's a lot of churches nearby, nearby, Christian, Catholic, y de todo tipo. So I personally wanted to see something more. Y miramos el Centinela, and I was like, pues out of 2, I would have to choose Centinela, because the basic, like, what do you call it, the standard that we like to see out here, right? We've seen that image before many times in many different interpretations. So that's why I felt like we should have another interpretation of it, right? Meanwhile, the Virgencita one, it was definitely controversial, porque I want to have more space, like Gilberto or Mr. Moreno says, like, more space for artists to spread and do more. Porque this is just an interpretation of La Virgencita. If it would have been more executed in a different manner, adding another reference, adding mixtures of cultures and or like experiences, sería otra cosa, you know? I think you guys understand what I mean. I do think this should be moved to the next round, like you said, to have them all be voted on at the same time, see which one's the best one, because if we approve of one, and then the next 9 are like really, really good in comparison, I don't want to take anyone out and then put someone in again, you know, or any kind of confusion or kind of little mishaps.
Mayor, real quick, just because we're going to go here for like 2 hours, the same thing we did last time. I hate to do this, but real simple. Who's in charge of this project here? You are? Okay. What do you recommend for us? Simple, and we'll vote on it. What do you think? You were there. You've been on it since day 1. What do you recommend?
I would recommend a cycle 2. Open theme, open to Imperial Valley residents, and if any project submittals will be approved, I would approve Centinela.
And that includes these 2.
From these
put
2,
everybody into cycle 2.
From these 2, approve Centinela, if any, or take these 2 along with the other 2 that did not make it into second round.
Okay.
I have a feeling that we're gonna get a bunch of Centinela proposals. I think so. Maybe
wait on it, right?
That's what I was saying. Like maybe just put them all together. And
I would make this. I wholly agree with your recommendation, but on the part that we have to choose, I really feel like we should carry both of these over. We still have to resolve C and D, whether we're going to allow people not residents of Calexico to participate in cycle 2. Are we going to allow non-residents?
Well, my question is, because I know Ismael was there, and I know you've been there, and whoever's out here, but the question is, and I'm not part of those conversations, I mean, how many people are actually putting from Calexico and from El Centro or somebody else? If you can't force people to put it just because we need to get this thing going, right? Yes. We've had it for almost a year, so how many people have applied from Calexico? There's no interest, right?
Well, it sounds like the limiting thing is the theme.
So the theme is limiting people.
Yes.
Okay.
More than
then
the
we'll have
residents.
those. Then we'll have more then.
We'll keep Calexico only.
Right.
Okay, so
Yes.
one thing that I will remind the city council, part of your direction to do it for Calexico only was that some of the artists are from Mexicali, and they will not have a way to prove the W-9, to produce a W-9 that becomes a vendor, so that you might want...
that is if they're going to get money, though. They're not getting money.
Yes, sir.
They are. They are, as far as I remember. There was a
But
stipend.
they can decline that. They can decline that.
Yes,
that
but
preclude
I just want to make sure that you understand that if someone from the city of Mexicali comes, they may become eligible. I'm not saying
Okay.
they're not.
All right.
But you be aware that they might not be able to receive a stipend because they could not produce a W-9.
No, I'm not talking about the stipend. I'm saying, okay, that's fine. Okay.
The on C, you know how it says that adults who have ties to Calexico, this could imply like, because we have a problem here where like people leave and like never come back. Like those people are eligible, right? We have some few artists that have become really successful outside of the Imperial Valley.
Okay.
Those people would be qualified to.
Yes, they do not reside here or in the Imperial Valley, but they
How
have
do-
ties
how
to
do we-
Calexico.
how do
Any
we-
kind of tie. Their parents, or they went here to high school, whatever. If they can say that they have ties to Calexico, that's it.
Why don't we set a very specific parameter? If they can prove in any way that they were residents of Calexico for 1 or 2 years, that would be a good way to filter people out systemically, maybe. So people that moved out can say, well, I went to Jefferson for like 2 years. And
That is a good
objectively-
idea, but would that hinder your program now? That's the other question now, right?
I would say we're making it difficult for them.
Yeah, you see, that's what I'm
When
saying.
you move out and move to another city, you pretty much don't save any of your bills.
Documents, yeah.
So I'll make a motion again that get this recommendations with a little caveat there and then move on, right?
And
I think it's
in,
like fair.
in your motion is to carry these over?
Huh?
Okay, all right, a motion.
To approve those arts?
No, to carry these over to the.
Oh,
next-
to cycle 2? Okay.
And make it no topic, whatever, as long as it's not vulgar.
I confuse you for the name because in the Mexicali is the Centinela.
It's
Oh,
And
Mount Signal.
what is the name for?
the same thing, Mount Signal Sentinel.
Mount Signal Sentinel.
Yeah, it's different.
Sí. Yeah.
Pero ellos pueden dibujar lo que quieran.
I know.
Bueno,
Yeah.
there's a motion to carry these over, to have a no theme cycle 2, and for it to stay the same of Calexico residents, right? Yes, okay.
Well, ties to Calexico as well?
Or, what is,
She just said no, so remember, she just didn't recommend that. Remember?
Okay,
She said that.
Then we're doing the ties, right?
Yes.
Okay, all right, sounds good. That's the motion.
That's your recommendation, right? Because it's going to hinder your program if you do that.
My recommendation would be open to Imperial Valley.
Okay,
Okay.
all right,
All right.
sounds good. That's the motion. Is there a second?
Okay, again,
It's
what
not-
is the
Okay.
motion?
Yeah, it's not that clear.
Repeating the motion, which is the recommendation, is to carry these two over, que estos se vayan al ciclo 2, for cycle 2, que no tenga theme, que no tenga explícitamente limitaciones, no theme cycle 2, and for us to continue keeping it open to people of the Imperial Valley, or keeping whatever is right now.
One more thing, the disqualified applicants, if they can also be moved to cycle number 2.
And that's your recommendation, right?
Yes.
Okay, and to follow the recommendation to carry over disqualified art submittals as well.
I'll second that.
There's a second by Mr. Manzanares. All those in favor signify by saying aye. We should probably do a roll call vote on this one, actually.
Mayor Ureña?
Yes.
Mayor Potem Romo?
Yes.
Councilmember Garcia?
Yes.
Councilmember Manzanares?
Yes.
Councilmember Moreno?
Yes.
Yes, excellent. All right. Approved unanimously. Thank you, Mr. Ardo. Moving on to the summer pool program. Up again.
Me again. Okay, so we have the joint use agreement with the school district. I'm glad to say they had it on their board meeting on May 11th, and it has been approved at their end. Now it's our turn to get it approved. So that's item A. For item B, it's the the potential to establish program fees as we discussed last time. In front of you, you can see some recommendations, also some comparisons with other cities, so that you are aware what kind of fees they impose. And it's up to you. What is it that you want us to do for this summer?
Ms. Colio, what is your recommendation? Just to cut to the chase.
Don't put me in the spot. The way I see it is that we already, the city council, approved funding for this program. So the program is fully funded. If we implement a fee, which in this case is $1, not everybody carries cash. How are we going to charge them? We don't have a credit card process. Some of the charges are higher than that for groups and teams. I personally don't think that we need additional funding, but I don't make those decisions. I think it's perception it could be wrong because we're using Measure H and also ARPA funds that is for the general public. I think it's better to wait the next year when we don't have any monies, and then we can start asking for donations or payment or things like that. But that's just
Recommendation. Okay. Any?
Yes,
discussion
I
by-
do have. So how are we going to find this program, finance this program next year? Are we going to go to ARPA again? Or are we going to go and get from where? So if we finance it now, a minimum fee? I mean, we're the only pool, well, actually, in Imperial County, it's essential we have pool. People literally come and pay whatever. Unless they want to go to Raging Waters, they pay $300. I've always said that. And the majority of the people that come from Mexicali, they can pay $1.50. The point is that we need to finance this project for next year. And even at a tune of $1, and I allude to her because she's in part of that project, how many people can she get in a day? Just multiply it by 4 and then multiply it by 4 weeks, and then by year, there's your pool program for next year, and you keep financing it every year. So she doesn't have to come back every year again. And she's not struggling to asking, can you lend me $19,000 I can do a program? I think that's a bold proposal from her, and I even alluded to that last time. I was been saying that it's a financing the program. So you, Ms. Colo, you have to get. Where am I going to get this money now? So that's what I'm saying.
I'm only saying that for the purposes of perception. And I'm talking about perception because we already set aside the funding for this program. So the program is fully funded.
Let's continue council discussion. Moreno is
So
for.
in terms of financing, so she won't have to struggle for the program next year.
For the fees. Anybody else with an opinion?
Sure. I agree that, we allocated already funding, and that funding comes from the taxpayers already. And believe it or not, even $1 for a family that is struggling, and Mr. Moreno said it, we live in an area that, is hot, not everybody has a pool. But if you have a chance to take your kids, and you have to pay, $1 each, and if you have 4 or 5 kids, for certain families, that is a struggle. That is something that it's difficult for them. And imagine if they go a couple of days a week, so I think we should just give this back to the community at no charge. And I understand we need to look into financing, but if we start early, if we start, going now and planning and asking, we did it, last year, we were able to get some donations, but we can't just, I agree also that we can't just rely on donations, but at least on this year, the funding has been allocated. People have already paid into it. And I don't see why we should be charging, even if it is $1.
Before we continue, Mr. Manzanares, anything that you have to say before we roll on to the discussion?
No, I pretty much agree with Councilmember Garcia. This is the people's money. They paid for this. Kind of seems unfair for us to go back and be like, hey, by the way, you do have to pay in. I know the $1 is mostly symbolic, and I don't think that's the issue, but for example, swimming classes, $20 a session, if a family wants to send their children to swimming classes, it adds up ahí mismo. And swimming classes is something that I think we should be providing as essential life skill for people. I just wouldn't really want to charge for that. So at least, the people already paid for this, so I think for this year, we should just leave it as it was proposed, ran last year, which was completely free, and it was an entire success. 4,000 or 5,000 entries happened. So.
Give some context. Okay, sounds good. So you're at this point you're against Ms. Romo. Nothing to say. I do want to give some context to this conversation, Ms. Gerardo, just to because in my opinion, I'm very split between both of these opinions because they both hold some truth. And what it really comes down to is that there's many ways to skin a cat, right? And we're really borrowing from ourselves in many ways. So from ARPA, we allocated 25,000, correct? Roughly 20-something thousand from ARPA. And then Measure H, about 15?
35.
35 from Measure H. Oof, okay. And then the proposed or the estimated revenue is something like 12,000, right, as proposed?
Yes, I just want to point out something. This is going to be good for next year, though.
Yes, for
It
next
won't go into the general fund. It will actually provide for next year's pool program.
Yes, okay. So my basic calculation is this, because when we approve the Measure H allocation, the 100,000 for the Recreation Department, it was to supplant what Heffernan stopped providing, right? So it wasn't an increase to your department. It was patching a hole, and it was not patched 100%. It was patched like 80%, right? And so we're taking from Measure H to pay for this pool program, which is really taking away from patching up the seniors program from Heffernan, right? So in a way, this program is not really fully financed if it's coming from what was meant for the senior services, right? I think in general, we do need some temporary funding for the we need to consider some temporary stopgap funding for the recreation department so that we can stabilize their general fund, but provide for the next 2 or 3 years in recreation programs, maybe from ARPA, maybe reallocation of Measure H as it is, because that fund is growing, sales tax grow, and that fund varies in needs. For those reasons, it's very tempting, because you're going to spend $35,000 from the senior services. Do you have any plan on making the senior services for this year whole? Is it surplus money from Measure H? What's the outlook there? What does this mean for your department?
Heffernan Memorial used to support recreation with 50,000, just to make sure. Yes, so 50,000 for recreation, that would entirely go to seniors.
So it is financed then, at least for this year. Yes.
You could say that. A little portion has come from seniors.
A little, but it's still not sustainable to be taking from Measure H in those quantities year after year. We would have to make that a permanent, separate Measure H allocation to the pool.
That would be correct. I can afford it this year. It is not sustainable next year.
Yeah.
Okay. So okay. So it sounds like we can afford this year, but I'm just letting this council know that for next year, that small challenge of finding those 35,000, at least for next year, will be present whether or not we approve the fee. But at least for this year, we made it happen if we're not with that fee. But next year, we really have to find a way to get more permanent allocations to this department. Are there any motions to be made?
Mr. Dardo, hold on. But how many people, I guess, I'm sorry? How many people attended the pool last year? Or you're basically
As you can see, I have on my table 1, I have the 2022 attendance. If we were to charge the minimum fees that I'm proposing, we are estimating about $12,000 that would directly fund 2023 summer.
Exactly my point.
It is 12.
So you're setting yourself for sustainability, not for failure.
And just to be even more detailed, 6,000 of that is just from the $1 fee, and the other 6,000 is from the pool swimming classes, which, in all fairness, the general admission fee is very, very generous, but the swim classes are kind of expensive, right? So that's also into consideration. We can also make a move to say just on the general fee, and even say, please do not turn anybody down if they don't have $1. I think that's a provision we can consider. I personally, the one I have a problem with is that swim fee. I think it's a little bit too expensive. $20 per session. I mean, that doesn't.
Maybe you could do a package. Do a package. Work with them.
That would be the package. They get.
Well, I'm saying lower. I mean, a more lucrative
Yes.
package that provides that that clarity, right?
Yes,
Maybe
we
a
can
discount.
lower it to 15 to 10.
Yeah.
I can tell you that many people have called. They will get filled.
Oh yeah, of course.
Even with $20,
Because
I
we're
can
the only
tell you
pool in
that.
Calexico. Where are they going to go?
We will have a line of people signing up for swimming classes and to go to the pool.
Well, it is $12,000 on the table, 6 and 6. Is there any emotions on the table at this moment, or any further discussion?
A motion to reject the fee schedule and approve a no charge,
No charge for this year? Okay, that's the motion. There's a second by Ms. Romo. Roll call vote, Ms. Gabby?
Mayor Ureña,
Yes, for this year.
Mayor Pro Tem Romo, Councilmember Garcia,
Yes.
Councilmember Manzanares,
Yes.
Councilmember
No.
Moreno.
Motion passes 4-1. Moving on to appointment by.
I'm sorry, the agreement.
The agreement, we voted on it as one was to, the motion was to authorize the agreement with the rejection of the fee for this year.
Thank you.
Before we end that item on my vote, I think it would be urgent to identify revenue sources for our next, I think July is our next budget update. Or, yes, for then close of the fiscal year. That is where I would like to see any movements, whether it's from Measure H, from ARPA, that could have stopgap funding for recreation. Yeah, there's an ambulance outside. We're good. Okay. Moving on to 16, appointment by Councilmember Manzanares to library. Any appointment?
Yes, there's an application from Ms. Elena Mendez. I would like to appoint Elena Mendez to the Library Commission.
Who, I'm sorry? Name?
Elena Mendez.
Elena Mendez?
Uh-huh.
Okay, she's therefore approved by Mr. Manzanares. Appointments by mayor and council members of the 7 commissioners to the community services. I believe nobody has been appointed to this new commission yet as of, starting with Mr. Manzanares. Anybody you would like to appoint?
There is a person that I would like to appoint, Efraín Morales. His application is not here. Me la mandó por email.
Efraín Morales?
Efraín
Okay.
Morales.
There is an appointment of Efraín Morales by Mr. Manzanares.
And just on that note, because we don't have an application, can you just tell me a little bit more? of who he
The
is?
application is de Efraín Morales. Ay, déjame, if I can even find it.
This one here?
Yes.
I think.
For Carmen Estrada.
De hecho, I'm gonna hold on that one just because I want the application to be on record. No la tengo conmigo, so I'm just gonna hold on that. I'm gonna rescind that appointment for now.
Okay, Mr. Manzanares withdraws pending an application. Mr. Moreno?
So I will have the application here from Carmen Zúñiga Estrada. Point her.
Okay, Mr. Moreno appoints Carmen Zúñiga Estrada to the commission. Ms. Roma?
Now, let me ask before we continue. I know within the stipulations of this new commission, part of the stipulation was that if they have served 4 years consecutively in a commission, that they could not serve until they waited 2 years. Have they been vetted for that?
But I think that dissolves that. It's annulled because we dissolved it, right? Yeah.
Yes, but that was part of the new commission, right? That was part of the new requirements to form this new commission.
Están preguntando si hay una cláusula. Yes. We can also table the item if we're unsure, if that's a detail. It sounds like a very important detail. I mean, we can uphold.
No, that's fine. I mean, because I'm all for that. I didn't think it was. I think it was dissolved. So
You can make your appointment contingent.
pending on that. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. One per person, and then the other two, and then the other two is everybody. So, Mr. Moreno is going to appoint Ms. Zúñiga contingent that she qualifies. And Ms. Romo?
Roxana Pacheco.
Ms. Roxana Pacheco is hereby appointed to the commission. Mr. Garcia, do you have anybody?
I do have someone, but I would like to hear first because I know there's some really great candidates.
Okay.
But I would really dislike to make the appointment and then have to go back. You know, so.
So no appointment today?
No appointment for today.
I also do not have an appointment at this time. If there's other applications, please get them to me. But I will be recruiting also.
You know what? So we're appointing 7, right?
Yes, one per council, and then the other 2 is as a whole.
Okay. So based on that, then I will appoint Ms. Loli Torres on that, and then I would like to hear the stipulation on the other one.
So you're appointing Ms. Torres contingent on.
And she will qualify, even if that, you know.
Okay, all right, sounds good. That is the last agenda item, other than future agenda items. Future agenda items, starting with Mr. Manzanares. Adelante.
Would it be possible to place on the agenda an amendment for the ARPA allocations? An amendment for ARPA allocations? Because I am interested in removing the carpet replacement, which I think there's $60,000 left there, for reparations for the community center in 7th Street. I know that there's reparations that were allocated for the community center for the roof. However, I recently visited that facility, and I think it's a disservice to our seniors to not invest ARPA funds in their actual building that they're using. The inside of the building,
Mr. Manzanares, we have to briefly just state what we need without discussion,
Sí.
unfortunately, at this time. So noted, we will put an amendment to reallocate what's at City Hall carpets for the community center. That is the budget amendment request. Any other items? No? Mr. Moreno?
Okay, you?
Mr. Moreno, coming this way?
Whoever, okay. Ladies first. Go ahead,
Ladies
Gloria.
first, Ms. Romo.
Okay, Ms. Julia, ¿dónde está? Oh, my Dios. Submit, it's possible submit to CBP the consideration of one MOU or agreement to rent an ambulance and provide service at the port of the entry, please. It's similar for San Diego.
Can we have Mr. Ainsa? I believe he had an answer. We'll have a presentation by the fire chief on that one, if that's okay, Ms. Roma?
Yeah.
Sí? Okay. Mr. Garcia? Or any other items?
I just want to go back to what Supervisor Escobar mentioned, and I think it's really important that we have the presentation from SBDC schedule.
Okay.
Because I know they're doing great work with businesses, even local businesses, and due to the fact that we don't have an economic development, I think it's now more than ever it's really important that we have that.
Very briefly, presentation by SBDC. I did make some requests in my city council report. I'll just stick to those, and I'll write them up as an email just so that they're not, so that you don't have to go back into the recording. And with that, unless there's any other future agenda items.
Me?
Oh.
I didn't say anything. I gave it to, se lo pasé a la señora primero. Okay. Anyways, yes, I got a.
Yes.
Okay, first, the update on the Farm Worker Service Center. If you can call Vino, the CEO for Catholic Charities, on that one.
Okay.
Also, this is for Ms. Scolio. I know she's been very active with the Friendship Park with the migrant things. If she can give us an update as far as what's an itemized, how many resources we spent, how much money we've used,
Title 42.
things like that on that services there.
Title 42.
Yeah, Title 42.
Presentation on Title 42.
The other thing is, when are we having the grand opening for the fire department?
And to schedule a grand opening for fire department.
They moved in already. I saw them today, and we don't have a grand opening.
And celebration of the ambulances.
Right.
So I would like to announce also, and I totally forgot. Next week, May the 26th at 5 p.m., we're going to have the ribbon cutting for the new river improvements project. I think I mentioned it to you, but not solid, but it's there already. That's going to be at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, Friday the 26th. What we can do, we can schedule the fire station the following week, because by that time we will have everybody move in with furniture, potentially things that are pending.
Are you okay with first week of June?
Sure.
Sure?
Yes,
Good.
okay.
Okay.
Sounds good, thank you.
And that's all. Thank you.
That's it. Okay.
También, just, little, just to, lo que estaba diciendo Moreno, in Title 42, is it possible to also include statistics on the city of Calexico, the efforts so far?
Yes.
Como a couple thousand, I know we've helped a couple thousand so far, just so that people can see.
We have more than 4,000.
See?
Yes.
Yeah, so I would love to see it
Yes,
presentado
we
para la
can
gente.
bring the presentation.
Perfect.
Before I forget, also, which is very interesting, I think, did we get $2 million from Senator Padilla after all?
No, sir, that's still pending. We receiving letters of support, and
So no money yet?
no. That's gonna take a while.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. With that, is there a motion to
I'll make a
adjourn?
motion.
Motion by Mr.
Second.
Second by Ms. Romo. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion adjourned at 8:29.